Okay, let's just get right into it. Every single industry on the planet right now is colliding head-on with this massive, unavoidable restructuring force. Researchers are calling it the dual transition, which is the simultaneous collision of massive digital transformation and the incredibly urgent shift toward a circular economy. If you're sitting in the C-suite, hear me on this. This isn't just about adopting some shiny new tech or checking a green compliance box. It's a complete, fundamental rewrite of the rules for market survival. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the actionable insights you actually need to navigate this massive shift.
Take a look at this quote. Circulation can hardly be envisaged in isolation. It's a stark reality pulled straight from Dr. Sarbas-Votan's research, and honestly, it makes one thing incredibly clear. The days of pure, isolated competition, they're over. Done. If your organization actually wants to survive, let alone thrive and solve these global environmental challenges, you just can't operate as a lone wolf anymore.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The dual transition imperative. 2. The shift to coopetition. 3. Empowering multi-stakeholder ecosystems. 4. Top-down meets bottom-up. And 5. Actionable insights for leaders. Kicking things off with Section 1, the dual transition imperative. Look, this dual transition we're talking about is absolutely not just another corporate buzzword. It is a baseline imperative. See, pure competition relies heavily on information silos. It's all about hoarding data to beat the other guy in this zero-sum, take, make, dispose, linear economy. But as we're all seeing, that old way is incredibly fragile. The dual transition, on the other hand, demands interoperability. It demands shared ledgers and entirely distributed value chains. Basically, tech is empowering us to smash those silos and completely restructure how value is created and shared. Moving right along to Section 2, the shift to coopetition. Now, this entirely new paradigm relies on one really crucial concept, coopetition, meaning collaborative competition. And I really want to stress something here. This is not some feel-good corporate charity initiative. No way. This is a vital strategic survival strategy. These global environmental challenges and the distributed value chains we actually need to fix them, well, they're just way too complex for any single corporation to tackle alone. You literally have to collaborate with your competitors to build the very infrastructure your industry needs to stay afloat. Think about it like a giant puzzle. A single entity simply cannot achieve a closed loop all by itself. It's impossible. Instead, as the research points out, it requires harmoniously coordinated processes, orchestrated and run by various well-connected smaller entities. It's like a highly synchronized supply web. Those old-school isolated market battles are being entirely replaced by these interconnected networks. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, empowering multi-stakeholder ecosystems. So how do we actually build these networks in the real world? Well, the research breaks down 4 sequential pillars of digital enablers. First up, infrastructure. We're talking using IoT and AI to establish real-time connectivity. Second is governance. This means utilizing blockchain for security, privacy, and absolute, undeniable accountability. Third, solutions. You have to create system interoperability so that data actually transfers seamlessly between parties. And finally, fourth, engagement. Using tokenized models to properly incentivize every single stakeholder involved. This is exactly how technology forges a unified, working ecosystem out of what used to be a totally fractured market. You know, a really common misconception among leaders is this idea that every single one of their individual internal processes has to be perfectly circular. But that's simply not true. Even if your specific manufacturing process remains linear in segregation, linking it digitally to the next process in line creates full circularity across the wider value chain. Your waste literally becomes the next facility's raw material, and the whole shebang is coordinated entirely via those 4 digital pillars we just talked about. Okay, let's hit Section 4, top-down meets bottom-up. To architect a truly resilient ecosystem, you absolutely need 2 very different forces working in tandem. From the top down, you've got your macro-level policy, sweeping digital governance, and that scalable infrastructure. But, and here's the kicker, that must perfectly intersect with bottom-up grassroots innovation. I'm talking about things like micro-level IoT tracking right on the factory floor, highly localized circular business models, and distributed networks. When that macro-level governance drops down and directly supports that micro-level tracking, that, my friends, is when the magic actually happens. And hey, there's actually a formal name for this magic. It's called industrial symbiosis.
The famous Kalundborg site in Denmark is pretty much the textbook example of this. It's this incredible cooperative network where 25 different streams of byproducts, water, energy, physical materials, they just flow smoothly between entirely different industries. So the waste from a power plant literally becomes the input resource for a gypsum manufacturer next door. It's top-down infrastructure and bottom-up innovation working together to basically eliminate waste and radically lower costs across the board.
All right, bringing it home with Section 5, Actionable Insights for Leaders. We all know this transition is happening. The real question is, what do you actually do about it on Monday morning? First things first, define your physical goals. Every single digital tool you deploy from here on out has to aim at achieving one of four things: narrowing loops, meaning using fewer resources; slowing loops by extending the life cycles of your products; closing loops by maximizing your recycling; or regenerating loops by redistributing resources continuously. Basically, if your current tech investment isn't hitting at least one of these targets, you seriously need to rethink it. Second actionable insight, you need to seriously look at adopting an everything-as-a-service or XaaS model. You've got to shift your mindset to delivering performance rather than just selling physical products. A brilliant example of this is Philips with their Light-as-a-Service at Schiphol Airport. Philips doesn't just sell the airport a bunch of light bulbs anymore, they sell the performance of lighting. They retain total ownership of the physical materials, and they manage all the maintenance and recycling. The client gets zero maintenance headaches, and Philips, well, they're now financially incentivized to make those bulbs last as long as humanly possible. It is a massive, massive win for dematerialization.
Third point, you have to leverage combinatorial innovations, often called X-Tech, alongside things like blockchain for ultimate, bulletproof transparency. We're seeing this everywhere, whether it's agritech utilizing satellite data to perfectly optimize farming, or the diamond industry using blockchain platforms like Tracker and Everledger to track a stone's exact journey from a mine all the way to the retail counter. These technologies are what guarantee ethical sourcing, they break down those stubborn data silos, and most importantly, they establish the deep trust you absolutely need for true coopetition to work.
So here's the bottom line. The dual transition is happening right now, and it is certainly not waiting around for anyone. Plus, the digital tools you need to build a sustainable, circular economy, they're already here. So the hard question you have to ask yourself and your leadership team today is this. Your industry is transitioning. Are you stepping up right now to collaboratively orchestrate that new ecosystem? Or are you just going to keep competing in the dark in your little silos until you're completely obsolete? Food for thought. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you on the next one.